Hello, everybody. Let's check our mic levels. Welcome. Those joining us, here we go. Hello, Madylin. Let's see how it's going today. Let's see if getting some feedback here.
Hi.
Oh, there we go. Hi. We go.
Oh, hold on. Let me get you
There we go.
better. Hi.
It looks great. At some point, I'll plug in my other microphone, and then you'll hear me better. But for now,
I hear you good.
good.
Yeah. I want to show everybody. This is my kitty. He's sitting with me.
What is your
This is
kitty?
Odin.
What is your kitty's name?
His name's Odin.
Odin.
Because he's like a god.
Oh
yeah, Odin.
Because there is a street by the Hollywood Bowl, Odin. Also.
Oh,
but
really?
Yeah, I have no idea where the origin, but it might be. Now, Maddie, does your cat have hair? Am I making that up?
No.
What?
No,
so
he's.
Yeah, what is that called? What breed is that?
He's a Sphinx cat, so he has no hair. He was rehomed because the couple had a baby that was allergic, because you can still be allergic even though they don't have hair. So we rehomed him. He's a sweet boy, and all he wants to do is cuddle and be in fuzzy blankets because he's cold.
Yeah. I love it. I love it, and I'm a big fan of cats, but I don't want to. I don't have any allergies to cats, so I don't want to rub it in.
Yeah.
Maddie, thank you so much. I try just because people are getting notified that we're live. So I'm saying hi. So it's morning in Australia. It's late at night in England. It's obviously 2 p.m. in Los Angeles and New York. So we're trying to catch everybody. So the people start falling asleep in the UK, and they're waking up in Australia. And we also have people in Russia. Hello, UK. Hello, Windlepoons. Hello, yes, hello. Hello, we had Cześć. That's hello in Polish.
Oh, Long Island, hey.
Yeah, Long Island. We have hello, Scotland.
Scotland, way to go.
So,
awesome.
Maddie, the show apparently is shown in the morning in the United Kingdom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why Tschüss, I'm saying hello in German there. We have a German fan there. Hello from Texas, someplace you know.
Hey, that's where I'm from. Hey, Texas.
Where in Texas, Maddie?
I'm from a little town called Brownwood, Texas. It's about an hour north of Austin.
Okay. Yeah. And when's the last time you were there?
Well, I don't actually have any family that lives there anymore, so probably when I was 5.
Oh, so that brings us to the beginning of Everybody Loves Raymond then.
Yeah. So it's been a long time. Most of my family is in Houston or Austin. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which I love. I love Austin. I drove through Houston. All right. It's that wasn't a dig at Houston. That's just me saying. Hello, Cape Cod. Yes, in UK it's 10 p.m. Okay, great. It's 2. Somebody asked before how many hours, so you can figure it out. It's 2 p.m. here where we are. Woo from Texas. Hello, Maddie. Yes. Hello, Maddie. Sorry, people are asking. Hello from San Antonio, Texas. Wow, Houston. Wow. Yeah. I guess now, are they there? Do you have a big following in Texas, maybe? Is that what this is?
Oh, not that I know of. I don't think I have a big following anywhere. Well, I don't think so.
Yeah, that's funny. So let's go. And by the way, for people who are just watching, hello, Melbourne, Australia. That's funny. They spelled it phonetically so that I wouldn't mispronounce it.
No, I'm surprised a lot of people are actually getting my name spelling right. Most people don't spell it right, but everybody's kind of got it going on. So thanks for that, guys.
So then that brings me to Maddie. Why is your name spelled that way?
I have no idea. I think my mom likes to be kind of odd like that. My siblings, I have a lot of younger siblings, and they all have weird names. Like Jameson, but spelled really phonetically, and like Juliana with 2 extra L's, and Elliot with E's, only E's, there's no O's. It's very, she likes odd names. Mesa, the oldest of my younger sisters, her name is Mesa, which is table in Spanish.
Right.
But it's spelled Maysa. So strange. So odd.
That's a tough one. So there, you can't get mad at people for misspelling your name when it's not the normal. And
yeah, it's
by
true.
the way, someone's right. Hello, Bunny Bear 02. Our sweet calico cat is named Allie Barone.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's hysterical. Now
that's so cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Hello, Devon, England. Yes, what was the audition process like? We'll get to that. How's it going in Long Island? I don't know. Neither of us are in Long Island, so I don't know. Yeah.
Hopefully good.
It's colder than where we are.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Hello, Australia. Hello, Australia. So, Maddie, if this will be a fun hour, by the way, and I'm gonna, the same thing I said to Brad Garrett and to everybody else, you're gonna have to come back because there's too much to talk about in an hour, and we always run out of time. So, and it always feels like, how are we gonna fill an hour? And then with 1 minute left, it's like, okay, we ran out of time. So just because we have so much time, and the people, as you know, the fans are watching the shows hundreds of times or 10 times or so many. So they know so much more about the aired episode than you and I do.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. So, and to them, it's very current because they watched it last night. And for you and I who lived it, we're now going back to 1996. And what were you, 4 or 5?
I was 5 in 1996, like halfway through 1996.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So now for the people watching, imagine, try and think back to 1996, and now imagine also you're 5 years old. So
yeah. I think that was the thing I was the most nervous about coming on, is I have stories and some memories and things like that, but I was so young. I kind of remember what was told to me, and I do have some like good memories, but I worry that I'm not going to have enough details for everybody. You know?
I think, I see Ray probably 3 times a week, and I see Phil, pretty often. And I'll ask Ray, just because someone will ask a question on this forum, and I'll go, Ray, do you remember, for example, you on the Christmas episode, you disappeared and you came out with your mother's bra, on your back, hanging on your back from the Jazz Records episode? And Ray will be like, I don't remember any of that. Is that the episode? So even if Ray, who was considerably older than 5 when the show started, even he can't remember. So I don't think you have to put any pressure on yourself of like, oh no, what are the stories? Because to me, even for me, the reason I'm even doing this is it takes 130 people to make the show, and nobody knows everything that went on the show. Phil doesn't know the name of the second second assistant camera on any of the cameras, nor should he have to. I mean, it's just hard. So you learn in retrospect what happened on the show from talking to these people, you guys, all of us who worked on the show. And it's kind of like this family reminiscing of things. So the joy of it, Maddie, is even if you just had one memory, it's so good to hear from your perspective.
Yeah.
And
I'm
also
happy to share. It's good. I'm so excited. And it's brought back memories too, just thinking about what I'm going to talk about, which is wonderful. Yeah.
Well, I think, especially now that time has passed and I've worked on a lot of projects, and Phil and Ray and everybody associated with the show, it's a memory that is so endearing, and we brought so much to people, so much laughter and happiness to people, that even no matter what you go on to, or no matter what brings you happiness, these are great memories to go back to. I think, So let's go back, because a lot of people I'm talking about over the past 6 months have asked, how do you even get onto a TV show as a 5-year-old?
Right. From what I understand of, you know, I was in pageants when I was little, and yeah, we had a friend of the family. I was doing really well in the pageants because I was well spoken and, you know, just outgoing as a kid. I wasn't afraid to talk. You know, so many 5-year-olds are very shy.
Yes.
Which is totally normal, but I was abnormal, I guess. And I like to talk and make people laugh and have fun. And so I was doing well in pageants, and somebody said, well, you should get her into television and movies. And I did a movie in Texas with Delta Burke. I did a movie. It was my first project. I think I was in it with Alexa Vega, actually, when she was very young. And we remained friends throughout me being on Raymond. But so anyway, then we decided, well, we'll go out to Hollywood for a week. We'll just give it a week. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
You know?
And who is we? Your parents?
Yeah, my mom and dad and me. Yeah.
Right.
And then I think my twin brothers were at home at that time because they were just born. I was 4, and we went out on a bunch of different auditions, and I booked, I think, a McDonald's commercial and 2 pilots, and we had to choose which pilot, you know, we wanted to be on. And thankfully we chose Raymond, because I think the other one, my character got turned into a boy and didn't make it to the air. So we chose correctly, or they did, I guess. I didn't really. I was just happy to be in front of people and making people laugh.
Yeah.
So.
And I think sorry, a lot of people are just joining us. I'm Tom. I'm not Raymond. Some people.
They confuse you a lot?
No, it's just that they see every one of those Raymond live, and then they write, who are you? So which obviously you know very well. But so this is Tom Cultipiano. I was a writer on the show for all 9 years, and we're talking to Madylin Sweeten. And someone just asked, because they must not have heard, she was 5 years old when she started. And
yeah. And
I
was actually 4 when we filmed the pilot.
In March, I think it was. In
March. And then, yeah, because my birthday's in June. So once we started the show, I was officially 5. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because for those watching in the process, what Maddie is talking about is there's a pilot season, and the pilot season only lasts about a month and a half, 2 months. And everything happens in that 2 months. So everybody has to decide, especially actors, do I do this or do I do this? And if you commit to one thing and they are like, we really want that cute blonde girl to be in our show, then someone has to say, well, she's in second position, meaning if this other show doesn't happen, and that type of scramble happens every year on network television. And you never know when you've done that pilot if it's even going to get picked up. And so there's all of this, you know, potential career-changing decision that nobody has the answer to. It's a black box of luck, because had everybody as Raymond not gotten picked up, you know, your parents would have been like, well, maybe we chose the wrong one. And in fact, Ray wasn't was not a front runner to be a show. And even when it got on the air, there was a Cosby show, there was a Ted Danson show, there was a Rhea Perlman show. So Everyone's Raymond wasn't even, once it made it on the air, wasn't even. It was,
the market was like flooded at that point, I imagine.
It was just, there were a lot bigger names, and Ray Romano was completely unknown.
Right.
And Phil Rosenthal had never run a show. So
that's crazy to think, because see, I didn't know any of that. I look back on it and you just hear, oh, it was one of the biggest sitcoms on TV, and I just think, oh, but it must have been smooth sailing. So it's really interesting to hear the struggle that it was in the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I lived it, because obviously I was friends with Ray and I was on the show, and so it was a weekly struggle of, okay, they've ordered 9 episodes. Mm-hmm. But we're 105 in the ratings. So we'll probably do 9 episodes, and then it's okay. And Ray made a pretty good paycheck for 9 episodes, and then he moves back to New York. So that was a weekly struggle of, mm-hmm. is the show even going to get picked up? And as I say that now, it's hard for people to believe from the outside, but Seinfeld took even longer. So back to you, Maddie. Because
back to me.
Yes. Well, one of the things that people always ask is, and save it, just think of your favorite episode, but save it for later. Okay.
Okay.
Because that's one thing that everybody likes
Asks.
to know. So then,
Yeah.
so now, and I'll put up some pictures because I have pictures of you playing with Allie, with Ray's daughter.
Oh,
You know,
God, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
Allie. I mean, I know you know who she is, but for the people watching, Ray Romano in real life has twin boys and a daughter who bizarrely is blonde because Ray and his wife are not blonde.
Yeah,
So
people always seemed that was so odd that, two brunette parents would have blonde children, but my parents were both brunettes and we were all blonde. I mean, not anymore, obviously. You get older, but
yes,
so I always thought that was funny that people, and I saw somebody was asking too about my brothers being on the show. Actually, initially, I think we had a set of triplets that were playing the twin boys. And I don't know, I'm not exactly sure why they didn't go on. I don't know the specifics, but then I think when we actually started filming the show, the twins, it just kind of was convenient, I guess, maybe. I don't know.
well, no, what I heard, because this is the joy of talking to everybody, I had heard that they had gotten too old already, like they were going to be older than you. So that's what I heard. That's what I heard from, I think it was Phil who would know. And so
Right. Yeah.
I do know only having one family is so much better.
Yeah.
You know,
And it meant that we got to be together all the time, so we got to be close siblings and not be separated. And, I was always working and they were always in school. It was really nice that we got to be together.
yes. And so off of that, Maddie, I'm going to go back. Do you even remember where you were, or even if you knew, like, hey, the show got picked up, so we're going to be going to this stage every day?
Yeah, I remember some things like doing photo shoots. Like there's this one photo shoot where I'm on a white picket fence and I'm like leaning over smiling. And I remember riding tricycles and with the boys, and we did this like big photo shoot out on the grass and stuff. I remember things like that. And I remember Peter Boyle always walking around doing Frankenstein for us, and chasing us around the set. And that's so funny because I didn't know that he was Frankenstein. I had no idea until years later. I would say even after the show was over, I watched him in Young Frankenstein and said, "That's my grandpa."
That's hysterical. That's hysterical, because how would you know, though? You can't watch it as a 5-year-old.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, it's completely, and it's funny because Peter was such a nice human being and so gentle, right? And just so sweet that when we saw him every day, and then you see Frank, this character that we're writing, it's just the polar opposite of who he is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The kindest man I've ever met. I mean, honestly, he was our grandpa. I mean, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
And he was always so sweet. And in between takes and stuff, I remember he would have me come sit on his knee, or he would mess around with that. He paid a lot of attention to us. He was a very, very kind man.
Well, and Peter has 2 daughters, and he had to leave his family in New York, or, ultimately he chose to commute. So here he had these 2 kids that he was for 9 years, for most of the year, for, 8 months or 7 months of the year, he was not seeing his daughter. So he was really, really, yeah.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah. So now it's the first year, okay? And do you remember even when you found out that, because in the pilot, your brothers weren't there. And do you remember finding out, my brothers are going to be with me? Like, was that a moment?
Maybe. I don't know. I remember like my mom having them on her hip while we were filming the pilot. And I remember vaguely the other triplets who were playing twins on the show, because we did that scene where we were jumping up and down on the bed. I remember that. But I don't remember when I do remember the episodes when they would flash back to me as a baby. they would put one of the boys in a dress and have a little, you know, bow on their head. And I just remember laughing so hard at that, thinking like my little brother's dressed up like a little girl. That was really funny.
So that was an episode that I wrote with Ray, and that
Really?
that was called Why Are We Here? And it was the first season flashback of Deborah finding out that she was pregnant. And so they used your brothers. I mean, it worked.
It did.
Yeah. It seems silly, I think, as a 5-year-old to go, because what are they, why are they, you know, why would they cast when they have somebody that we could, no, they seem like they could be. Yeah.
And it worked. And he was transformed. He looked like a little girl. And that's why I think it was so funny at that age and why I remember it. And, you know?
Yes. So here's a little point of trivia that people are asking. Ray's real kids are Allie, Greg, and Matt, and now Joe. But they changed from the pilot to, Jeffrey, right, and Michael. And so the reason, and I asked Ray this, because do you know the reason why they changed the names?
No, I don't.
Yeah. So I asked Ray, and I'm hesitating because it was just, well, they kind of want the kids to have some anonymity, which is funny, something like that, which I thought, okay, that makes a little sense, but I guess Allie is in for a life of non-anonymity. And it turns out it didn't matter, you know.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, ultimately it doesn't matter.
Oh, sorry. It's my husband. He's playing video games.
Oh, okay. It sounds like he's losing.
Yeah, more than likely.
So then, can you remember because here's what a lot of people ask also. You're growing up on a TV show. How much time, well, I'll go back bigger picture. A lot of the shows didn't include the children, not because you guys weren't great. It's just that from the writer's room perspective, from Phil Rosenthal's perspective and Ray's perspective, there were a lot of adult storylines. And so you only have 22 minutes to tell the story. So you couldn't have this adult storyline and then shoehorn the kids in, because we always loved having stories about the kids, right? The audience is family audience, but you would have these episodes, you go, okay, you know, we have to figure out how to put the kids in, and there wouldn't be time, right? So,
right, or it wouldn't be genuine, you know, and that's not, it doesn't matter if it's not genuine, it doesn't matter if you put them in or not.
And actually, yes, Barbara from Long Island, I think, says it wasn't really about the kids. True, Ray says that. And I just want to clear up, I put a thing about, I don't know, you probably don't remember, but we had a lot of sports stars in the first season. And it was stunt casting. Yeah. And so I'm going to post the picture again, because I said it always got cut out in syndication. And so I think some people were offended, like, how mean is that to just cut these people out? But the reason they were cut out, somebody wrote, "I love your hair." I think they're talking about you, not me. Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you. I've been cutting it myself because of quarantine.
Oh yeah. It looks good. It looks good, Maddie.
Thank you.
So I think what people don't know is when you have with the sports stars, and this is related to the kids, they would get cut out just because they were part of a teaser at the beginning of the show, and it didn't apply to the story. So you only have 22 minutes. In syndication, the show got cut down to 20 minutes. So that means 2 minutes had to be cut in editing, and you can't cut a story point. So that's why, in relation to the kids could have been in every episode. I don't know what the contract was, but unless it served the story, we didn't see it. So off of that.
And I'm so grateful for that too, because I look back on it and I think I'm so glad that we weren't working all the time. I'm glad that we got to be kids. You know, I would get at least a week every month that I was in school. I would do more than most of the time. I was on the show 3 weeks out of the month, and I would get to go to public school for a week, which was amazing. I learned so much about how to connect with my peers, because at that point I had only spoken to adults, and I knew that as a young person speaking to adults, all you had to do was kind of be a little sassy, maybe a little like bossy and old for your age, and they thought it was so funny. But it's not the same with kids your age.
Yeah.
you know. So I learned so many social skills getting to go home. So I'm very grateful that we weren't shoved in front of the camera all the time. You know, we were part of it and we got to be part of the family, but you know, we also got our own lives, which I'm so grateful for.
Yeah. And I think for the normal schedule for a sitcom, you shoot for 3 weeks and then you have 1 week of hiatus. So that's the
Oh,
absolute normal. So then let me ask you this. When you weren't in an episode, were you still coming to the set? No.
no, no, I'd be at home in school.
At
Yeah.
home. Okay. And then what was the public school like? What was that like to show up and do they go, aren't you on a TV show or no?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, you know, I had my friends at school. I definitely wasn't in the popular crowd or anything like that. I just had my weird artsy friends and we would hang out together all the time. And I think it was sometimes odd because I would go away for 2 weeks and I'd come back and they're like, Becca's fighting with Katie and you have to pick a side. And I'd be like, I don't know what happened. So that was always strange. But yeah, it was interesting. The teachers were great up until about middle school. Middle school, they kind of didn't really like that I was going off on set all the time anymore. And then I would come back and maybe I didn't have to do as much homework as everybody else.
Yeah.
Or I got it done faster because I was on set school, you know.
Yeah. The teachers didn't like it, not the students.
Yeah, the students were fine. The teachers didn't like it.
And was there anything, did you feel, because look, when you're a kid in school, you're worried about it, you know, do I have a pimple? Do I, you know, everything is so critical. So did you feel that you were treated differently at all by the kids because you were on TV, or was it pretty?
No. I feel like I was treated just as normally as anybody else. Now, you know, everybody has problems in school. Like there was bullying and stuff like that, but I don't think it had anything to do with being on TV. I think it was probably just other things.
Yeah. And where, so just for people watching, just to go succinctly, there was a classroom on the set of Everybody Loves Raymond. So it wasn't like Maddie would go, oh, we'd go cut, and then she would run and play video games and, you know, eat ice cream behind the stage. You had to go back to the classroom that was on the set.
Yes,
and,
exactly.
Yeah. And so there was somebody who was, I know towards the end it was Arlene, but there was somebody, you always, what do they call that?
Arlene was my teacher, but Susan DeFabre, when we were young, was our kid wrangler. I don't know if that's the official term, but that's what I told she was called, our kid wrangler, and she was amazing. We're still really good friends, very close with her and her husband, Eric. Right. And she would kind of just make sure that her and my mom, who was always on set. I'm sure you remember, Tom.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, so they would just make sure that, you know, we were going to our class and then getting lunch, and just that knowing where we are, because you know how kids are, they can get away, and on a set where there's lights and cords and all kinds of stuff, I can imagine it's something you worry about.
Yeah. And there was, so I'm saying because officially, I think it is child wrangler or kid wrangler, and it sounds like somebody that throws a lasso around the kid and pulls them in, but it's the person that's keeping, you know, there's very strict rules about a child on a set. You can only be so many hours. You can only work so many hours in a row, etc. And so,
and we had to do a certain number of hours of school every day. So, you know, I might have gone off after one show and snuck ice cream. That sounds like me. I like ice cream, but we had to do a certain number of hours of work every day. I actually found that I got work done faster on set, and it was a shorter period of time, but I had one teacher. So my brothers had one teacher, Miss Mora, and I had one teacher, Miss Arlene, and those were our teachers. So because we had a one-on-one experience with school, I actually did very well when I was on set. And when I was back in public school where I was not doing one-on-one, it wasn't as easy.
Yeah, because you're basically having we would all be so lucky as to have an assigned tutor for our lives, for our first, you know, for our 9 years.
Exactly.
So for those people that just joining, this is Tom Caldabiano. I was a writer on the Raymond series for all 9 years, and we're talking to Madylin Sweeten, who played Allie. So I'm just skimming through some of these questions as we go. By the way, Maddie, this is so much fun catching up. I hope you're having fun because,
of course.
yeah, okay, great.
This is not just a fake smile, Tom. I'm excited to be here. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not. I wasn't, and it wasn't an accusation. It's just that I was talking to Elizabeth Sweeten, Elizabeth Herring. Okay. Elizabeth Sweeten is
my mom.
I think you know her. She's Maddie's mom, so that sounds fun. But I was talking to Elizabeth Herring on, who, for those that didn't see it, she was the basically dialogue coach. And so after we were wrapping it up, where we ran out of time and had a lot of fun, she goes, "Okay, I feel so much better now because I just didn't know what to expect." So that's why I'm saying that. Yes, I'm buying your real smile. So I'm just reading through. This is a very nice comment. This show has been my savior dealing with my anxiety, and I've watched the show for years. So comforting. Thank you. Okay, that was a very nice thing.
That's really sweet.
Yes, England, hello, etc. So then you're on the set, there's a classroom, you get whisked off to the classroom, right? And then when there's a scene, you would come in and you would rehearse the scene, and then you would go back to your classroom, right? And then on the weeks that you weren't in an episode, you would not even come to the stage, which was stage 5. You would go to the school. And where was the school?
The school was in the building. It was actually, if you so in the back behind the setup of the living room, we had that staircase, and then it led to another staircase that went down on the other side of the walls, the fake walls. Then there was the kitchen area behind that.
Right.
And upstairs there was the row of dressing rooms. So Ray's was over on the corner. He had the one over on the other side of the other staircase. And then it was, I believe, Brad and
Patty.
And then Patty. And then we had a dressing room. And then we had 2 school rooms on the corner. So we actually had the most dressing rooms, which was very...
Yes, you guys, you were definitely the shortest people on the show and took up the most room.
We did.
Somewhere, Maddie, I have to dig it up, but before the show ended, I took my video camera, and as you know, I was always taking photos and video. And I did a tour of the stage, and I just have to find that video because it was just me going, here's wardrobe department, here's Ray's dressing room, here's all this stuff. And at the time, it just was another thing I was doing. But now in hindsight, I'm like, oh, I really want to watch that again because, we talked to Larry, who was craft services at the end, towards the end, and just trying to show his kitchen. All right. So, sorry, I'm scrolling through these questions. 3 to 5 hours of education a day for children on set in England. Yes, very.
That was about the same for us.
Yeah. And when you think about it, if I had been studying 3 to 5 hours a day, I would be much smarter.
Yeah. And then they would take us outside. They'd let's go on a walk to the commissary, or which is a building in the studio where everybody can go to have lunch. It's like a big
cafeteria.
Yeah, exactly. So, we would walk down there, or we would go to the Central Perk, which is, they did like a replica of the Friends coffee house. That's kind of like a gift shop. So we would walk down there and walk around and see everything. So we got out and got to exercise, and then we would learn, and then we would work. So it was a full life
experience. Yeah.
And
I would say, a lot of people brought up in the past of being a child actor. And so I'm going to combine this with, there's a question from Windle Poons in England, which is, I've often wondered if child actors are fully aware if they are acting and how they perceive certain situations during scenes. So how would you answer that, Maddie?
Yes, I was very aware that I had a job. I took acting classes when I was young to try and get better. Now, when you're a child actor, some of the work is kind of being a parrot. So somebody says, say it like this time. And you're like, okay, I'm going to say it like this time. Right. And so some of that is happening. But as I was getting older, I was trying to learn how to do it without needing that. And, you know, so I was very aware that it was a job. I remember there was one story, there was like one scene where we started in the living room and I ran down the stairs and came to the coffee table to draw, to color, which, you know, we did sometimes. And then the scene panned into the kitchen and the cameras followed everybody into the kitchen. And they didn't catch it on screen, but what happened was I ran down the stairs and I came and I hit my head on the coffee table and ended up like laying down on the rug, and they panned the scene over to the kitchen and I waited until they said cut and then I started crying.
Oh.
So I remember that and think I knew I was doing a job because I knew to be quiet until they called cut. I knew that was part of my job. And, you know, my mom told me that. I don't remember it, but she told me that story. So I'm guessing.
Right. That is the consummate professional, Maddie, that you were willing to sacrifice all of the public pain and stuff just to stay, just to save that take. And it would have ruined that take.
Yeah.
You know, and I think in reading a lot of the stuff in the moment, because we were doing a multicam sitcom, you only have one chance to get the first laugh in front of a live audience.
Right.
And so, as you know, Phil, who's one of the nicest, most generous people I know, you know, he knew that. We all knew that. And so we're all sitting there. And so it hurt us when something went wrong with either the switcher or the camera or something like that. And you didn't get that chance. For the actors as well, it's like that chance to get that laugh has now passed, and it will never happen again. Because, as you know, it's a live studio audience, and there's nothing like that live laughter. And
it's never going to hit the same way again. That's why I remember we would do a take, and you and Phil would run up and be like, say it this way, say this line instead, do it this way. And then we would start over, and it would be a new punchline, and we would get a new first laugh.
Right.
And that was, I really, I learned so much just from watching that. Like, for instance, a few years ago, I was doing a show at Second City in Los Angeles. And it was kind of like SNL. It was like a mix of SNL and TMZ. And I would have to make up new jokes all the time because I was chasing that first laugh. So I'm sure, you know, it's from that. I feel you know, the same thing happens when I do plays. I want a new laugh. I got to try it a different way.
Well, and I'm just answering these questions. Someone said, why don't modern sitcoms use a live studio audience? And do you use a laugh track on the show, or was it real laughs? So it was real laughs. It was an audience of about 200 people. And modern sitcoms do use an audience. Mom, you know, Big Bang Theory is over now, but those multi-camera sitcoms do use a live audience. However, during COVID, they don't have a live audience. And so there's
insert laughs.
So they have to use a laugh track. So we never used a laugh track. And I think if you watch the blooper reels of Everest Raymond, you'll see, and I think I know you're in a lot of the blooper reels, not because you screwed up your lines, but there's laughter. And sometimes you gave the line that someone else was supposed to say because you knew the script so well, which I thought was great. Because here's this.
There's this one where Patty was Miss Patty. She was saying she couldn't get the line out, and so I just said it to her. I was like, Miss Patty, this is the line, you know, because I was a little kid and I was sure it was annoying.
Yes. Well, and I would go back even more to something that you said before for people who are interested in acting. What Maddie was saying about parroting. What you don't do to an adult actor is give them what's known as a line reading. So you just say, okay, Maddie, here's what you're trying to do as an adult. You're trying to do this. This is what you're feeling. This is what you're moving. Now you interpret that, because it's kind of insulting to you don't go up to Meryl Streep and say it this way, because it's just, you know, you just don't do that. And so there are points when you have to get the line out. So that's, you know, when you were saying parroting lines, that's kind of what you were addressing. Let's see. Hello, Teresa. We have a big fan named Teresa. My girlfriend and I said how ELR is getting us through COVID.
Oh, thank you.
Let me see. Ding, bada bing. Okay. You were there for filming of Pat's Secret. I saw the kids leaving the stage before we went in. Yeah, they're the scenes. If because we would film from 5, and sometimes it would go not late for a show, but late for Raymond. If it would go 9:30, you guys would be going home.
Yeah.
So then, Maddie, of the episodes that you were featured, because there were a couple that were big, alley episodes. Do you have any favorites of those?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was the episode where Peter and I were in the grocery store, Grandpa, and how he kept eating the food out of the grocery store bins. And I got really upset with him. And I liked that because my character taught him to be a better person in that episode, which I thought was really cool because his character is so grumpy and we just kind of always see him grumpy. And it was really nice to see him soften with his grandchildren. I really like that episode.
Yeah, Grandpa Steals. That's called Grandpa Steals. And for those who are on this Instagram, you saw I put up a picture of you in the backyard with Frank, with Peter. And I'll post a few more after this. Yeah, a lot of hearts.
Is that also the episode where, I don't know, they might have cut it for time. I don't remember. But there was this running bit throughout the show or the episode that like anytime an adult sat on children furniture, it like collapsed. And I think it might have gotten cut at the end, but I think there was one where Brad sat on a swing and it just went and just collapsed all on top of him. And I specifically remember either you or Phil saying, like, I just want it to feel like anytime an adult sits where a kid is, the whole world collapses.
Oh, yeah. I honestly don't remember if that made it. So this is where the fans will know if they saw that, if they made it, yeah. So someone wrote, Maddie, did you keep losing it when he kept breaking the picnic table? So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that one too. And then later there was like a tagline bit of it. Yes, I did. I tried not to laugh. There's a couple of episodes where I feel like you could see it, like the one where he's teaching me about the birds and the bees, but really I want to know about God.
Talk to your daughter.
To your daughter. Yeah, you can see. I watch it and I'm like, I'm laughing. I'm laughing. Yeah. They're having to cut around me laughing right now.
And by the way, it happened to the adults too all the time.
Absolutely.
So then someone asked way back earlier, when's the last time you saw an episode?
The last time I saw a full episode?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been a while. While. It makes me like, I don't know. It's weird to watch, particularly if I'm in it. I'm always like, oh, why did you do it that way? Why did you don't sound like you're really saying that. You know what I mean? It makes me nervous. So. Well,
there's a lot of people, I had read that Pavarotti, the great opera singer, hated hearing himself singing. So it's not unusual for people to cringe at watching. And I think, in talking to Ray and Phil, like, you're watching the episodes now and you don't remember. So it's a joy.
Right.
You because it's usually more closer to when you did it that you go, oh, I forgot to do that, or I forgot to do this. So now all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is a pretty funny show. So then of the non-alley heavy episodes, are there any episodes that you loved?
Oh, Marie's statue. I watched that as an adult now, and that is so funny.
Yeah.
That whole, and I was looking at your post about it too, and you were saying like Phil was inspired by a statue that was in his hometown.
Yeah.
And I just, that episode was really funny. Or the one where, and I think we were in this one a little bit, they drove the car into the house.
Yeah, wallpaper.
Oh, that day on set too was so crazy. There was just glass and broken things. I mean, it was so cool how they made that work. I think a lot of the artistic elements of the show, like the set design and the costuming, I've always been so interested in. I actually went to design school myself, and I graduated last year with an associate's in interior design, because I think it's so cool how they make stuff like that happen. And I've done set design work, so I know that making a set that can be backed into is very difficult.
Oh, yes. and then rebuilt within 15 minutes in front of a live audience.
Right. I mean, can you imagine being in the audience on that day?
So then let me ask you this, Maddie, because someone commented before, and there was perhaps the way they phrased it. Somebody wrote, "Why is the house so awful?" And a lot of people wrote, "Well, I think that's just decor of the 90s." And so I'll add to this. I was talking to Aaron Shore, one of the writers, and we were talking about how much the set decorating and the wardrobe department added to the show. Yeah. And it's, when you're doing a low budget thing, it feels low budget, not in the quality of the people, but you just don't have the manpower to go, okay, Maddie is going to be dressed in this, that color is perfect with Patty's outfit and this. So all these little details that go unnoticed to the public, at least in like, oh, well, who cares? It's just the back. It's just are so important for painting the picture of the whole, set, the whole.
Yeah. And I think somebody just said it too. It popped up like, maybe you think it was awful, but I think it was realistic. Right. And somebody just said that, I mean, some of these shows you watch like Friends, and you're like in this beautifully decorated, huge apartment in New York. And you're like, that doesn't exist. Who's renting that? Like you have to be on a TV show to live in a place like that.
Well, that is such a great point. And I was thinking about that when I read that comment initially. And, this, once you're in public, once you're a public figure. So once I started doing this Instagram page, I'm like, okay, let me block really angry, mean comments because we're all vulnerable. And I want this to be a friendly environment. But when I read that comment, a lot of people jumped on it. Like, it's not awful. It's realistic, all that stuff. But I thought Friends is such a sexy, unrealistic show. It's a fantasy show. And so you're looking, and what Maddie's talking about, that apartment in Manhattan is about $4.3 million. And so there's nobody living like that. Nobody. But if you're going to have the dream life with your young, beautiful friends where everybody is beautiful and, and awesome, it's on TV. So, by the way, here's a trivia that I think I know the answer, but were any of your parents ever on in an episode in the background?
I think so. It doesn't sound like my parents to not want to be in front of the camera.
Yes.
So I think so.
Well, maybe in a wedding, because
the wedding, or maybe maybe at the one where the boys are doing comedy on stage. Maybe they were in the audience. Anytime that there was a situation where we had like lots of parents at the school, or a big wedding, or anything that happened kind of in public like that, they would bring people from instead of hiring out. We didn't have a big need for lots of extras, so usually we would pull people in from props or from anywhere.
Elena, first AD. So what Maddie's talking about is usually we didn't have any extras because almost every show was living room, Frank, the parents' house, Ray and Deborah's house, that's it. So if we are watching, who worked on the show, you'll watch the wedding episode, you go, okay, there's the first assistant director, there's the, in the background, because it just saved from having to, get outside people to be extras on the show. So, but when we have enormous ones where there's T-ball or there's a basketball game, you just have, you need 45 people, so that we don't have enough to supply that. So I'll look for your mother in the wedding episode, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
So then here's more, and I'll, just to save you the global umbrella of this, your relationship with the rest of the cast, and I will just say this, in real life, you lose track of people, or you see people, and especially now you got to factor out COVID because that's just a crazy situation. But, even the people that I'm really close to after Raymond, I would see them every once in a while because you move on with your life. So your relationship with the people on the cast, what would you say?
Yeah, no, I would say it's great. We're still, we don't talk every day. It's not like it was when we were on TV, but they've been so kind and supportive of me. And when I need help, or when I reach out, like they're always willing to. My husband and I went and saw Brad Garrett at his comedy show in Vegas, and he put us up, and we got to see him, which was crazy because he was always my uncle who put me over his shoulder, and I'm seeing him do this raunchy stuff, and it was really cool. And Phil and Phil and Monica and Ray and Anna have very generously supported my theater company, which we donated to my brother. I saw everybody at his funeral as well. And, you know, so they've been supportive and involved, which I really appreciate, you know, because it's like a family, you know.
Sure. And Maddie, let's just talk about your theater company just for a second.
Sure. Yeah.
Tell us about it. Yeah.
I'm a member, I'm a board member over at the Loft Ensemble, which is in North Hollywood. We're a small 501c3, and we have 2 playhouses. We have the main stage, and then we have Sawyer's Playhouse, which is a little black box that seats about 50.
And where is that? Where is that little black box that seats 50?
It's in the same complex. So
yes.
It's on Lancashire and Vine, right where that big intersection is on Lancashire and Vine.
So for those of you watching in Chechnya, I mispronounced it, or in Warsaw, Poland. Yes. North Hollywood is a suburb of Los Angeles. A 501(c) just means it's a nonprofit.
Right.
And for those who want to see live theater after this COVID is over, it's not far from Los Angeles.
It's not, and it's a lovely space. We do lots of experimental theater, which is cool. So it's not, you know, we're not going to do One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for 8 months. You know what I mean? It's a lovely show. We have done it, but
yeah.
And I was really lucky to perform with my husband in Sawyer's Theater for the first time this past year, which was great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And for those of you watching, there's a lot of these small theaters in LA because 99% of actors aren't working. Mm-hmm. You're just not. The most famous, most popular actors have a lot of downtime, and so there's if you really want to act, you can do these. You know, these type of theaters are very common and they. You know, so when people hear 50 seats, they go, "Well, what is that like?" It's a very common thing because you're low budget. You're doing it for the love of it. You know, everybody. So. All right, Maddie, we don't have that much time left. By the way,
what happened? Yeah. We ran out of time?
No, we didn't run out of time. We still have a good solid 8 minutes.
Why am I so fast? You were right.
Yes. Let me scroll back to make sure that, And do you think so someone's asking, do you think your brothers were aware that they were acting, you know, obviously when they were older, I assume they did.
I'm sure when they were older, they did. For the people who don't know this, you have to remember they were 10 months old.
Yeah.
When they started working on the show. And I don't think anybody's aware of anything when they're 10 months old, other than just like food and, you know, please change my diaper. So
yeah.
You know.
Of course. And then by the end, obviously, because by the end of the series, you were 14 or 15?
14. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, Ray's daughter, Allie, in real life, her name is Allie. She played Molly on. That's right. And how fun was that for you to see Allie there? And so here's the person you're playing. You know, getting to hang out with her as your nemesis.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it was great because we were also friends outside of work. I would go over to Ray's place. We would swim in the pool, and we would always go to her birthday parties and stuff. So it was awesome to get to have another kid my age, well, kind of my age, on set with me. Was anytime we did episodes where other kids got to be there was great, but we were close, so it was wonderful. For instance, the episode, the party dress episode, another one of my favorite episodes.
Yes,
and I learned so much about comedy just from that one episode. Because I was featured in it pretty heavily, and there was this one line at the end because Peter's been telling Ray the whole episode, "You're not really a dad until your parent tells you that they hate you."
Yes.
And so at the end, I have a line, and I'm in this big ball gown, and nobody else wore ball gowns to the party because of my dad, and so I'm so mad, and so I say, "Hate you," and I was being all serious. You know, this was when I was trying to figure out the comedy myself. So I was like, "I hate you." And the audience was just like, "Oh, so sad." And then Phil brought me aside and he's like, "Say it like really high pitched, like you're exasperated. You don't really hate him, whatever." And then I was like, "I hate you." And then we got a big laugh, and that's the one they used. And I learned so much about comedy just being heightened drama, essentially.
Yeah.
You know?
And the audience, I mean, from the outside, the ability of Phil to give notes was astounding to watch, right? So his note giving process was so great, because we'd have scenes where you go, oh, that scene's not working. And then Phil would come in and be like, okay, do this, do this, do this. And so what he was feeling in that moment is that, oh, the character is really wounded and really hates her father. So it changed, it changed that dynamic. So yeah, it was like a comedy lesson. And I'm glad that you were, because I think this, Maddie, and you wouldn't know this, I think, because you were so young, but at the beginning of the process, when you're from the outside an actor, a writer, you're watching the actors go, they're so talented. You guys were so talented, and we were so thankful. But there were times when you're like, okay, for Ray, let's use an example because we're friends, but like, Ray, make sure you hit this on this thing, because you have all these dialogue to remember. And it takes a while to not be like, oh, did I make it? Am I not a good actor because I didn't say it that way? And it's like, no, you have so much to remember. You have so much to remember. And here's, 10 pairs of eyes watching. So we're not like watching going, oh, Maddie's screwing up this way now. We're just going, oh, have her do it a little bit more like this. And I think initially it's hard not to be defensive when people rush in, because one thing that people are surprised about, Maddie, is I put up these photos of here's Maddie in the cast, and then they're surrounded by 25 people. And it's like, oh my gosh, what are they even talking about? It looks like a triage thing. But that type of thing, the intense attention to detail, is really what separated the show in many ways.
Right.
And so had Phil not given that note and you just said, I hate you, in a sad way,
it wouldn't have had the same impact. And it was good for me because I got a laugh, which felt so good. I mean, I don't know what it was like then. I don't have a clear memory of whether or not I did feel that way when everybody would come in. But now looking back on it and experiencing like my own journey of art and comedy, I can understand how that's they're always just trying to make you look good. You know what I mean? Like if you're on set and you're in front of the camera, they want to make you look good. And there's no benefit for them making you look bad or making you not funny. So,
that's great. It's the intent. Everybody on that stage, writers, actors, they all want to make the best show. And it's not that we're thinking this, but you want people on stage going, thank you for this Emmy, right? And that, look at Doris, look at Ray, Patty, the whole thing of it was the end result is what the goal is. It's not to sit there and try and humiliate somebody or anything like that. And it's funny because that being there, you're like, because you want to go, hey, Phil, thanks for that note. But from the outside, people might be like, wow, why is he giving her that note? Like, let her just do her thing, and it's funny because we all know how great the cast elevated what we wrote, because you just watching it going, this is so good. This is so good. And it's such a joy to watch it brought to life, And for you, your innocence was so great, in Talk to Your Daughter and, et cetera. It was, all right, so I'm scrolling through the final 2 minutes. You must come back, Maddie.
I would love to. This is so much fun. We
have so much more to catch up. I love your Christmas tree.
Thank you.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Yes, I'm laughing because this is a funny question off of Christmas tree. Did you actually know about the birds and the bees when it was mentioned on the show?
Oh, good question. No, I don't think so. I don't think I learned that until like 5th grade.
Yeah.
I was lucky to be there that week when they sat us all down to teach us.
I'm still waiting to learn about it.
No, I think the reason I laughed so much, particularly during that episode, is because Ray did that thing that he's so good at, that nobody will ever be as good at, where he had that face, somebody says something and it's not what he's expected, and he's like, and I mean, there's just that face that he does, and it always made me laugh, and it made everybody laugh, and I think that's why the show did so well. Yes,
and so only because it's now Christmas time, and the next time you come back, it probably will be after Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
When the ball episode or any of those episodes where you see Santa on stage and Peter was, did that, because the question was, did that throw you for Santa? and I'm going to say, well, you would see Santas in the mall, everybody
Yeah.
on the planet. So that didn't.
No, not at all. I mean, our job was to pretend. We were always pretending. I mean, that's all we did. So for me, it was just him pretending to be Santa. You know,
Yes.
I mean, I think we didn't really lose any of that sort of magical stuff. I'm so grateful that the cast and everybody taught us, you know, how to be professional, but how to be kids. Like, everybody let us be kids. It was so wonderful. I'm
Yeah.
so lucky. And Phil and Ray in particular were such great role models for family life, and Patricia and Brad, and I mean, everybody, they taught us about, it's so important. It's more, family is way more important than this job. You know, it's great. It's a wonderful job, but the family is the most important thing.
Yeah. That's a great thing to end on, but a couple more questions. I don't
No
want to
problem.
let go.
I
But
got time.
yeah, that family value is so rare in Hollywood. And Ray and Phil were both family guys, and they brought that to the set. And so I'm just going to go back because did you ever see Patty Heaton's kids on the set? But they were never in an episode. I'm just answering for that.
I don't think they were in an episode. I definitely wasn't as close to them as I was to Allie and the boys. But I do remember them being around, and my mom remembers them very, very clearly, but I don't remember as much.
Yeah. And so I do. Yeah. I don't remember seeing them as much. And when Patty comes on, I'll ask her if she deliberately didn't want them in an episode, et cetera. Because I took a lot of pictures of her kids, but they weren't around as much as Ray's kids, who came every week. Ray would alternate that stuff. And so just because there are comments in the past about being protective of child actors, like people saying, oh my goodness, and here you're saying such fond memories. And so people are saying, would you let your kids be on a show?
I think it would depend on the show. I really do. Because I got very lucky, but there are a lot of kids who don't. You know, we were very lucky that it was a family show, that Phil and Ray were so passionate about keeping it a family show and about taking care of us. But in Hollywood, there's just some people who aren't they don't care as much about that, or it's not at the forefront of their mind. And so I think it would really depend, and also on what my kid wanted. I feel like I wouldn't make them do it until they were old enough to understand what it meant, and tell me whether or not they wanted to do it. You know, that I'm grateful I did it, and you know, looking back, if I had been old enough to say yes, I would have said yes, because it's what I love to do. But you know, I would want my kid to be able to, like, just let me know one way or another.
Yeah, and I think in finishing, it was such an anomaly. I went on to a show afterwards, you know, that got canceled quickly. I know a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. The amount of comfort on that show and relaxed atmosphere of creativity is so rare and so not the norm. So I think, you know, you lucked out. We all lucked out in that, you know, Phil and Ray put together this great team, and it all worked, and everybody, you know, got along. Yeah.
Of course, you could see the heart that we had backstage in the show. And it's why, I mean, I think it's probably a really big factor in why the show did well, because it was a family backstage. And so we all were fighting for something that we loved. And that's bound to win, in my opinion, anyway.
Yes, of course. And you feel that. Yeah, you feel that watching. Exactly. And when people ask originally, like, do they get along? Because I found an Inquirer article, and I gave it to Ray, and it said, everybody hated Raymond. Everybody on the cast hated Raymond. And so, yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
Of course. But you pick that up in London, and you go, oh, I guess maybe, did Ray have a anger problem? Was he throwing temper? No, we know how crazy that is, right? Of course. Yeah, we know how crazy that is. But that's we ridiculous. Don't. Yes. Yes. But you don't know that from the outside. Because here's the thing, well, it's in the newspaper, it must be real, you know. All right, Maddie, I'll reach out to you. Hopefully in the next few months, we can connect again. Have a great Christmas. It's
Thank you.
Always great seeing you.
Seeing you, Tom.
And
I'm glad we got to remember so much today. Thank you, everybody all around the world who is watching and commenting. It's good to know that what we did made an impact and is important to people.
is bringing people some happiness. So
Yeah.
all right, Maddie, so good to see you. All right,
Thank
bye.
you, Tom. Bye.